So happy to have my first partner in crime, Canner Gutchin, with us tonight. And for those who are wondering, Canner Whitner is on paternity leave for the next 6 weeks, again for the next 6 weeks. We begin our service with Shalom Aleichem 142, 142.
Please join me. Page 142. Shalom Aleichem, Aleichem Hashem, Aleichem Yelyon, Mi Melech, Aleichem Amatim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Aleichem Shalom, Aleichem Shalom, Aleichem Yelyon, Mi Melech, Aleichem Amatim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
We turn to page 124, 124 at the top in Mishkan Tefillah. And please join me. We entered the sanctuary to welcome Shabbat. Within these walls, we sit surrounded by numberless generations. Our ancestors built the synagogue as a visible sign of God's presence in their midst. Throughout our long history and our endless wanderings, it has endured, a beacon of truth, love, and justice for all humanity. Its presence guided our ancestors to lives of righteousness, holding up to them a vision of their truest selves. Now we, in our turn, come into the sanctuary to affirm the sacredness of our lives. May we enter this place in peace. May holiness wrap around us as we cross this threshold. Awareness, doubt, the flaws within our human hearts, the harshest of the weak, let these drop away at the door. In the brightness of Shabbat, let peace settle upon us as we lift our hearts in prayers. We turn to page 120 as we light our Shabbos candles. For those who are able, we rise together for our Kiddush 123.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafel. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho. V'ahavanu v'ratzon, hidchilanu, zikaron v'ma'aseh v'reishit, ki u'yom te'richa l'mikra hekodesh, ze'eretzion mitzrayim.
The top of page 127, we continue, and please join me, 127. There are days when we seek things for ourselves and measure failure by what we do not gain. On Shabbat, we seek not to acquire, but to share. There are days when we exploit nature as if it were a horn of plenty that can never be exhausted. On Shabbat, we stand in wonder before the mystery of creation. There are days when we actively care nothing for the rights of others. On Shabbat, we remember that justice is our duty and a better world our goal. So we embrace Shabbat, day of rest, day of wonder, day of peace. We continue to page 135 with Romamu at the bottom. Teach me, O God, a blessing, a prayer on the mystery of a withered leaf, unripened fruit so fair, on the freedom to see, to sense, to breathe, to know, to hope, to despair. Teach my lips a blessing, a hymn of praise, as each morning and night you renew your days. Lest my day be today as the one before. Let's routine set my ways. We continue with our Chetzi Kaddish 144.
יתקדש ויתקדש שמך רבו, ימה יברא פירותי וימליך מלכותי, וחייכנו ויומכנו חייך בית ישראל. בגלה ובזמן קריב, אמרו אמן. יהי שמרה המבורך לעולם לא מעלמייך יתברך, יתברך וישתבח, יתבחר יתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתהלל ויתהלל, שמי קדושה ריחו, לעילמים כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דאמירן בעלמא, דאמרו אמן.
Page 146, and we rise together.
And I will pray, and I prepare. Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Yalla la la la, 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 la la
The top of page 149, and please join me. Praise you, Adonai, our God, for whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way in which tide and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise you, Adonai, our God, for whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai, Hamariv Aravim. On the next page.
I Baruch ata Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Vaed. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha. Ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher Anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibartam v'shivtecha b'veitecha uv'lechtecha b'derech uv'shoftecha uv'kumecha uv'shartam le'od hayadecha v'hayu letotafot בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
The top of page 157. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the wide way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there's no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together, our song of freedom and liberation, Nichmocha 158.
Ni
161. And please join me. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up, waiting to do your will. Our Hashkivenu 160.
And understanding among us, let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Hashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu. Hashkivenu.
The top of page 163. We are a people in whom the past endures, in whom the present is inconceivable without moments gone by. The Exodus lasted a moment enduring forever. What happened once upon a time happens all the time. Vishamru 162.
Vishamru B'nei Yisrael, Et HaShabbat, La'azor, Et HaShabbat, L'dor Rakam Beritolah. Beini uvein B'nei Yisrael, Oti le'olam. Beini uvein B'nei Yisrael, Oti Vishamru B'nei Yisrael,
the middle of page 165. Prayer invites God's presence to suffuse our spirits, God's will to prevail in our lives. Prayer may not bring water to parched fields, nor mend a broken bridge, nor rebuild a ruined city. But prayer can water an arid soul, mend a broken heart, rebuild a weakened will. For those who are able, we rise together for our tefillah.
No, that's on me. It's been a while since I've been in a pulpit. Adonai, sifatai tiftach ufi yagid hilatecha. Eternal God, open my lips that my mouth may declare your glory. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avoteinu v'Imoteinu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor, Hanara, Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Nikoneh HaKol, Nizocher Chasdei Avot Ve'imahot, Umevig Ula Livnei V'neihem, L'ma'an Shemo Li'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Ve'ezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor Le'lam Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol, Atah Rav LeHoshia, Mashiv HaRuach U'Morir HaGashem, Mechakel Hayim Bechesed, Nechayeh HaKol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim berofei holim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato lishenei afar, Michamocha b'gevurot, Umino mehenach, Mechayeh umatzamiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atah l'hachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kdoshim b'chol yom, Yahalelucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh.
The top of page 173. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise. We continue, top of page 179, and please join me. Grant us peace, your most precious gift, O eternal source of peace, and give us the will to proclaim its message to all the peoples of the earth. Bless our country as a safeguard of peace, its advocate among the nations. Make its heaven reign within our borders, health and happiness within our homes. Strengthen the bonds of friendship and fellowship among all inhabitants of every land. Plant virtue in every soul, and may the love of your name hallow every home and every heart. Praise you, eternal one, who blesses our people with peace. 178.
Shalom Rab, Al Yisrael, Hasim Le'olam. Shalom Rab, Al Yisrael, Hasim Le'olam. Ki atahu melech adon, Lechol HaShalom. Ki atahu melech adon, Lechol HaShalom. Shalom Rab, Al Yisrael, Hasim Le'olam. Shalom Rab, Al Yisrael, Hasim Le'olam. V'tov be'einecha livarech et amcha Yisrael. V'chol eidu v'chol sha'a mishlomecha. Shalom Rab, Al Yisrael, Hasim Le'olam. Shalom Rab, Al Yisrael, Hasim Le'olam. Hasim Le'olam. Hasim Le'olam.
We take a few moments for silent prayer.
That's my favorite bit. Please, Lord. Everybody searches in light or darkness, unsure of the way, afraid and alone. Someone who stood right where you stand would like to take your hand, help you feel, help you see, help you dream your dreams. Open up for your eyes, let the truth make you wise. If we sing with one voice, music will fill the sky. The sky, we can fly, we can be more than you, more than me. Take my hand, we can fly, it can be.
At this moment in our service, we take time to think of those in our community who are in need of healing of body and spirit. On this Shabbat, we think of Linda Applebaum, Cindy Silverman Bailey, Margaret Bell, Harold Seitlin, Deborah Chavois, Karen Edwards, Hannah Fox, Edward Goldberg, Barbara Goldstone, Josie Hatfield, Sissy Held, Evelyn Held, Donald and Vanna Himmel, Corey Kessler, Bart Colbert, Jerry Lapidus, Marlene Meyerson, Jeffrey Muss, Leslie Simon, Liz Slive, Chrissy St. Charles, Brenda Weinstein, Joan Weisberg, and Carol Wright. For those with us this evening, if you are thinking of a loved one or friend, if you wish to share a name out loud, we invite you to do so as my eyes meet yours. For those names mentioned out loud and for those names that are still in our hearts, we continue with our Misha Berach, our prayer for healing, which is on page 371.
Sure.
Shabbat Shalom. And here we are in Parshat Vayishlach, and our rabbis from either 2,000 years ago, 1,000 years ago, or 500 years ago, they tried to give Jacob redeeming qualities. And after all, he is going to be Beit Yaakov, the house of Jacob, that will become the house of Israel. And for this to have significant effect for future generations, Jacob needs to become, in other words, a good boychek or a good mensch. Because what we know about Jacob at this point was that he was a trickster, he was a manipulator, he made his brother sell him his birthright because of a soup, and on top of that, he conspired with his mother so that his father, Isaac, would bless him. And when Esau found out about this, he promised that he would kill his younger brother Jacob. But we learn in Parshat Vayishlach that this is where Jacob owns up to his misdoings. He offers his true remorse, his true teshuvah to Esau. The two brothers hug and kiss, and it's a beautiful scene about the power of family reconciliation, that we can let bygones be bygones. At the end of the day, family and friendship is what matters the most. That is the main heart of this parasha, but sometimes in a way, I think our Torah portion has a way to talk to us even in contemporary times. As we prepare for the Thanksgiving holiday, we have our Thanksgiving meals, we may have a particular family member who comes in who may share different points of view with us. Now's the time to think about this parasha, and I want to share this teaching because I think it's so poignant for where we are today as an American society. We also learn in this Torah portion, this is when Jacob wrestles with this angelic being. And this is where Jacob's name changed to Israel, and Israel in Hebrew means one who wrestles with God. But right before this fight, in verse 25, 32-25, it begins, Jacob was left alone. Again, Vayivater Yaakov levado. Jacob was left alone. Our rabbis were really curious about this. From Chalin 91a from the Talmud, this midrashic, this scriptural interpretation teaches us that Jacob had forgotten pachim ketanim, which are small pitchers of earthenware, and he went to go back to get them. And our rabbis believe that Jacob left these small pitchers, but he didn't want to forget them. He learned to be righteous with their money, with their labors, is dear to them like their bodies. The Talmud tells us that even if we forget something, even if whatever the quality of the price is something, we cannot engage in dishonest behavior. Since Jacob earned every penny honestly, it was dear to him. But then they wrestle with this even more. Sometimes when we lease something, money, it doesn't matter at the end. And this is where they tell us that Jacob went back for something simple, like pitchers of water, because honesty earned through good doing has spiritual value and should not be treated any differently. And then our rabbis keep on going regarding this retrieval of pachim kinatanim, these small pitchers. By investing, this is Jacob, with small pitchers for his zeal of honesty, he turned them into bearers of holiness. So these pitchers represent types of goodness, and they were precious as jewels. And here's the summation. As the Talmud teaches us about this episode, a judge should be scrupulous in deciding the ownership of a penny, something that is cheap, as of 10,000 dinars. I want to repeat this again. A judge, and we know about a judge that's been talked about lately the past week, should be as scrupulous in deciding the ownership of a penny, just like he has to decide the ownership of 10,000 dinars. It's also not surprising that the Talmud also teaches us, before a judge renders a decision, he must consider that a sword hangs over his head to prevent himself from making a rush to judgment before looking at all the facts, looking at all of the nuances, all of the witnesses, because justice and fair justice, what the law says, matters the most. I think it's easy to say, since the rise of media sensationalism, we've all been hooked on this rush to judgment. 15 years ago, 10 years ago, wherever these major trials find ourselves. On top of that, where we are as a society, and I imagine when we have our Thanksgiving dinner, some of us will be making a rush of judgment with those cousins, that uncle, whom we strongly disagree with. None of us have the ability to decide what viewership looks like on TV. But all of us, as we live our lives, we have to listen to this. Whenever we look at any situation, something major that we find in television, our relationships with that uncle, we have to be as scrupulous in deciding this ownership of a penny or the ownership at 10,000 dinars. Every fact matters, every nuance matters. I like Thanksgiving. I think it's good to be with family. I think it's a celebration of table fellowship, and our rabbis love table fellowship. We are driven by such noise, by volume of sensationalism, and above all this rush to judgment before knowing all the facts. What I am thankful for the most is nuance, is that shades of gray. Listening to both sides of the story before we get to make our own opinion. Judaism is so keen about this for 2,000 years of precedent. If our rabbis tell us not to do this, I think this is the lesson that we take into the Thanksgiving holiday. Shabbat Shalom. We rise together for our Aleinu 586.
Aleinu v'shabeach Adon Adon, v'aten kedusha le'aseh rishit, shelo asanu v'yeharatzo, ve'lo samanu k'mishmechot adama, shelo samketeinu tanet, ve'lo aleinu v'lo
Page 595. It's hard to sing of oneness when the world is not complete, when those who once brought wholeness to our life have gone, and not by memory can fill the emptiness their passing leaves behind. But memory can tell us only what we were, and company with those we loved. It cannot help us find what each of us alone must now become. Yet no one is really alone. Those who live no more echo still within our thoughts and words, and what they did is part of what we have become. We do best homage to our dead when we live our lives more fully, even in the shadow of our loss. For each of our lives is worth the life of the whole world, and each one is the breath of the ultimate one. In affirming the one, we affirm the worth of each one whose life now ended brought us closer to the source of life, in whose unity no one is alone, and every life finds purpose. On this Shabbat, we recall the yahrzeits of Gail S. Baer, Elaine Blatt, Margaret L. Blumenthal, Bapsia Maria Brzezinska, Marion Cohen, Michael John Cohen, Joe Dennis, Alan Dew, Taft Epstein, Estelle Ehrlich, Isaac Lewis Fabian, Marion W. Freeling, Kathy H. Friedman. Noah Garden, Erica Green, Frida Newfield Greenfield, Frida Greenhouse, Helen Friedman Gregg, Harold Heister, Joe Marks Heyman, Louis Henry Hirsch, Elias Nausbuck, Rose Jaffe, Jack A. Jaffe, Nathan Aaron Kahn, J. Evan Kaufman, Scott Kraselsky, Maurice Lapidus, Sal Louis, Daniel Noble, Marilyn Noble, Becky Pearl, Stephen Peatluck, Bertha Pearsman, David Rich, Phyllis Russell Rogers, Lena Rubin, Louis Royal, Elaine Kopelsag, Grace E. Sells, Benjamin Sears, Albert Siebel, Sylvia Shyline Berman, Irving M. Boots Silverfield, Helen Heffler Silverman, Eddie Sobel, Reba Strauss, Muriel Supker, Stella Wadis, Martha Susan Weinstein, Elizabeth Cronenberg Weinstein, and Burton Zavalo. Our heartfelt condolences in the recent passing of Alfred Thomas, father of Cinda Goldberg, Jennifer Ware, daughter of Sharon and Alan Goldstein, Joyce Heldberg, mother of Henry and Emily. May all their memories forever be a blessing. We rise together as a united congregation. Our Mother's Kaddish 598. Yikadal, Yikadal, Shemei Rabbah, Amen. B'yomah divrach charote v'amlich malchute, v'chayachon uv'yomechon, uv'chayetikol Beit Yisrael, ba'agalah v'zman kariv v'yimru, Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah Mevarach V'Olam Olamei Amaya, Yitbarach V'Shabbat Hitba'ar Hitromam V'Hitnaseh, V'Tadar V'Taleh V'Talal, Shmei Kucha, Le'elah Min Kol Birchata V'Shirata, Tushbechata V'Nechamata, Damiram Milma V'Yimru, Yehei Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya, V'chayim Aleinu V'Kol Yisrael V'Yimru, Amen. Osei Shalom Mimromav, Huya Osei Shalom, Aleinu V'Kol Yisrael V'Yimru, Amen. Just two brief announcements before we conclude with Osei Shalom at 647. Thank you, Kennergy. I absolutely love sharing the bima with my dear friend, mentor, and colleague every time I share this moment. Mark your calendars for December 11th, Saturday night. Doors open sometime around 6, I want to say, as we have an incredible night honoring our musical director, Paul Mosteller. Osei Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.
Osei Shalom.